Hello everyone, we are in a tennis court right now and I'm going to teach you how to dial your scooter. And if you don't know what dialing your scooter means, basically means when you drop your scooter and it doesn't make any rattling sounds. And if it does make any rattling sounds, it means it is undialed, which if you're on this channel, you now understand the joke behind it. So this is what your scooter should sound like. Everything on my scooter is pretty old. I would imagine it's about the same for you guys as well. So it's gonna be rattling no matter what. It's not gonna be fully perfect. It doesn't sound like parents' toolbox when you shake it. It doesn't sound like that. But I'm gonna teach you how to fix the little things on your scooter that make a whole big difference and will make your ears happy. So let's get into it. So a big thing that a lot of people have problems with when trying to make their scooter dialed. So normally whenever your scooter is undialed, it's normally because of your wheels. Occasionally it's from your compression, which I will get into that in a little bit. Right now I have my front wheel loose and it sounds something about like that. So to fix that, normally there's two types of bolts that you'll have. You have the 6mm bolt with just the normal threaded bolt on the other side, but then there's also ones that normally come on completes and it's 2 5s on each side and then they just like screw in together. So basically all you need to fix that is 2 5s, and then lucky enough for me, Root Industries makes this fork to where you don't need a wrench or anything to be able to tighten it. So all I need is a 6 and you just righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and sounds like that. Another big thing is when your brake is loose. I currently don't have a 4 to loosen my brake, but as you can tell on this Apex deck, a very simple setup. A lot of the times it'll be like either your brake will slide into your deck, or there's a bolt on the bottom, which you'll find with TSIs. Oh, Envy has that. They have the bolt on the bottom. So all you need is a wrench or even some needle nose pliers. You get in there, tighten her on up, and you're good to go. One of the biggest things on a scooter is the compression. I am running HIC right now. There's IHC, SCS. For me personally, it takes a while for an HIC to come loose compared to a SCS or an IHC. That's just me personally. It's different for other people. I rode SCS for pretty much the entire time I've been riding, but right when I got on grit is when I started riding HIC, and I've stuck with it. I like it a lot more than SCS, but it's a personal preference. Like, Will loves SCS and I like HIC. But basically, in order to tighten your compression, IHC or HIC, you put your 6 or 5 in, twist it until you can't twist anymore. I promise you're not gonna break it. Put it down, put your bars back on, but one thing, this isn't to keep your scooter more dialed, this is more along the lines of making your clamp last longer. So with HIC, I guess it doesn't really matter as much because there's only 2 bolts, but whenever you're dealing with something like SCS or the occasional 3-bolt clamp, you wanna go, it's like when you tighten a wheel on a car, you wanna do the star motion. Kind of the same thing, you wanna distribute the weight evenly. If you see this, right here, straighten my wheel again. So whenever you tighten it, you wanna tighten it to where it just starts to get tight, not to where you're pushing it, but to where it just stops your finger. And then you wanna do the same thing to the bottom as well, like so, tight, and then you just keep getting a little bit tighter as you go, and it'll just evenly distribute the weight so your clamp doesn't make that wonky shape whenever your clamp's doing that or like that. It makes your clamp last longer and it'll tighten evenly, so everything's all ready to go and ready to shred. That is a few easy things to make your scooter tighten, and you can just do it on it right before you ride. You get to the park, drop it a little bit, making some wonky sounds, tighten your brake up, tighten your back bolt, tighten this, and if it's still making some sound, tighten this. But on the rare occasion that you tighten everything and it's still all undialed, Will's gonna help you with that right now.
All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? So today we are basically showing you how to tighten up your scooter so it doesn't sound like that. Basically, what Clayton went over is how to tighten your front axle, your back axle. If your brake does end up having bolts, this district brake, unfortunately for me, does not have any bolts, so it just stays super dialed. But if your brake does have bolts, just do what Clayton said. But what if your scooter is still, like, you've tightened every bolt, I swear to you, every bolt, and your scooter is either 1, undialed, or 2, you're like, your wheel doesn't spin, or your headset doesn't spin, or just like, it doesn't work, like, together. I'm just gonna show you a few key things that I've found over the years to of why my scooter would, one, be undialed, or two, just not work. For this one, we're gonna take off the bars. If you can see right here, my bars are pulling out a little bit, so I need to take this off anyway. Bars are off. So very similar to HIC. Basically, SCS is the exact same thing. In reality, it is. It's just where the bars get placed on the clamp is just a little bit different. But like it's basically the same compression system. All it is it's basically a giant shim, but on this one it's a clamp. This tightens the top part of your fork. These two bolts do. These top two tighten your bars. This isn't a compression video. I feel like you guys, for the most part, would know how to, or know what different compression systems are. So make sure you go to the cards and press on the video for all the different compression systems. One thing that I've found that my scooter would always do, and I never really knew the reason why, I would tighten up my headset all the way and just like headset would not spin. And what I found is the reason behind that is this little guy right here. Putting your headset together is a very crucial step in getting a dialed scooter. I'm gonna leave this bottom bearing in. But basically, I have a bottom bearing in my deck, and then I have a top bearing right here. Basically, you wanna have the headset with like the angled side going in. So if it's the bottom headset, you wanna have the angled side going up. If it's the top headset, you wanna have the angled side going down. So that way they're like facing each other. Next, you need to put in this crucial guy right here. All right, so this right here is called a pinch ring. This is not a crown race. A crown race goes at the bottom of your fork, and most forks these days, fortunately enough for you, come with it built in. If you don't put this thing on, which I never really saw the reason for it for a long time, which is pretty stupid of me to be honest, but basically I would just put together my fork, just put on the headset cap without this, and basically my headset cap would just tighten into my deck, and it would make this like bond between the top of the headset cap and my deck like scrape. If my scooter just wouldn't spin. And the only way that it would spin is if I loosened it a lot and it was like really rattly, then it would just be undialed and it wouldn't be a tight, solid scooter. So make sure you use this guy right here or else you won't have a dialed scooter. And that is facts. Putting that in there. So that could be one of the reasons of why your scooter is undialed. The next thing that could be the reason why your scooter is making horrible sounds is, this is really, really rare, very rare, but it's happened to me on 2 decks. You could literally just have like a piece of metal just stuck in your deck. Like if I shake it around, I don't know if you can hear it, but I think this is some worm poop or something. I have like a little piece of metal just kind of like rattling around my deck. No, this is not District's fault. Like I'm positive that it's a rock that got like lodged in here, and it's not just like a bad deck or anything. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say you might have got something just stuck in your deck that is making the rattling noise, because believe it or not, that's actually happened to me a few times. When it finally comes out, you're just like, why was that in there? Another crucial thing that might be happening, and another reason why your scooter just isn't, I would say, working. This one, if this is happening, your scooter just is not working, and that might be a reason why it's all loose and ratchet. This distance right here on your fork needs to be smaller than the distance in 1, your HIC shim, or 2, this little lip inside of your SCS right here. So if your fork right here is longer than that, then that means that your fork is gonna stick above this little lip that's in here, and when you go to tighten it down, there's nothing to tighten down because you're already bottoming out the fork. What you'll need to do is you'll need to get some handy dandy headset spacers. If you don't have any headset spacers, you can literally just get standard sized bars and cut like a little bit off of it and then put a spacer in. Or you can just go to your local bike shop. Literally every bike shop has them, so just go to your local bike shop. If you ask them nicely, they'll probably just give them to you, but if not, they probably cost like $1. Basically just put the headset spacers in there, and what that will do is when you put a headset spacer in there, it'll create the distance of your fork to be a little bit shorter, so that way your SCS will fit on there perfect. Fortunately for me, I have the Eagle SCS fork, so it fits perfect and I don't need any headset spacers, fortunately, but that has not always been the case. If you go back on my Instagram or watch previous riding clips of me, I used to have like a fat stack of spacers, so it's really just the fork and deck and bar and compression system configuration that will determine whether or not you need spacers. Because believe it or not, some decks, like Mad Gear decks, are a lot shorter with like their head tubes, so that way you'll have just naturally more fork sticking up. Or some decks, like the District deck, are a lot bigger from the bottom headset to the top headset, so there'll be less space in between part of the fork that's coming out of the top of the headset and the tippity top of the fork. That could be another reason why your scooter just isn't working or is undialed. All right, so suppose you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not an idiot like you, and I did put in my pinch ring, and when I put my headset back on, it still scrapes. Well, there's a fix for that. So basically what you need to get, and these are a little bit harder to find than, let's say, headset spacers, is you need to find this, like, I don't even know what it's called. It's like a micro thin headset spacer. Basically, what this does is this goes right on top of your pin tray, just like this, and it makes the littlest gap, like the littlest amount of gap. So that way, your headset will sit a little bit higher above your deck, and when you tighten everything together, since your headset is raised up a little bit, nothing scrapes. Now you're sitting in front of your computer saying, Will, you're still an idiot because my fork is the thing scraping on the deck. Well, that's an easy fix as well. All you gotta do, you wanna just take the same ring, and you can either put it one of two places. You can just put it like down here and have the headset sit on top of it. And basically what happened is it's gonna like form to the bottom of the crown race, or if you have an integrated crown race, it'll be down here. Basically, it's just gonna form to it and put your fork down a little bit farther, so that way your fork isn't scraping along the bottom of your deck with the headset area. This is a pretty like uncommon problem. I would say if you scooter for a while, you might come across this like once or twice in your scootering career. It's only happened to me, I think, like once or twice, but it does happen. So that's how you fix it. Now, if it is not that reason, and you're dropping your scooter and you're just so upset because your scooter just is making these horrible sounds. You've done all the steps in this video. You've tightened your compression, you've tightened your fork, axle, you've tightened your back axle, you've tightened grip tape, you've tightened your grips, you've tightened your bars. I'm just making up things at this point. But it's still rattling, and there's nothing you can do. This is what you need in your life. If this doesn't fix the problem, I don't really know what else to say. This is a very common problem in scootering. If you don't know what this piece is, you don't know what a tail whip is, because this piece right here is as important as the tail whip. What this is right here is this is the piece that goes in between your bearings in your wheel. And for the longest time, I swear to you, the longest time, I thought this piece right here was just some crap. Like, I just thought it was unnecessary. I thought it was like not important. I was like, oh, I can just put my wheels together with no middle bearing spacer, tighten up my wheels, and it'll spin fine because it doesn't need anything in the middle, because like this isn't actually touching anything. But this is actually such a crucial piece of your scooter, and this is why. Here's your middle bearing spacer. Here's two bearings for the demonstration. If you have no middle bearing, this is gonna be your bearings sitting in your wheel, and then when you tighten them, they're actually, like the middle part of the bearing is actually gonna like flex in. So that way, you're gonna be pressing your bearings like together. It's gonna make your wheel stop spinning. You'll never be able to get your wheel fully tight because the middle of the bearing will always press a little bit farther, so it'll always just be loose, like it'll always be rattling. But if you have this proper spacer in between your bearings, basically when you tighten your wheel all the way, your bearings don't have anywhere to go, so they can't flex in. This is just a like a little brace that keeps your bearings straight up and down. This is a lifesaver. This will make your scooter so dialed and make your wheels spin fantastic. Make sure you run these because these are important. Also, another key is a lot of companies like cut corners with these little pieces right here. I know a lot of companies, this spacer could be like a millimeter bigger or it could be a millimeter smaller. So make sure you use the ones that I found to be like the best. I obviously run Radix wheels, so I need different inside spacers. But the ones that I found to be like the best ones are Tilt ones and Proto ones. Just because they're a little bit like thicker, and I don't know, they work really well, and I haven't had any issues with them when I used to run standard size wheels. So that's what I would go with. If you're not running these, make sure to run them. Every Complete comes with these just built in, so if you have a Complete, you don't have to worry. These are already pre-assembled on your scooter. There's one final thing that I want to talk about with your scooter being undialed, and this one is a killer. This is more for you guys that have Complete scooters that are a little bit newer into scootering. This is something that I've seen happen to kids before, and this also happened to myself, is using these like stupid axles that are like a male-female axle. What the issue is with these ones is you need to have at least some threads showing when you're tightening it up, because a common problem that people have is they'll tighten their axles so much that it literally bottoms out, and that's as tight as you can get. So you can just keep tightening and tightening and tightening it tight as you can get, because there's no more area for the bolt to like go in and make it smaller. Unlike an axle like this, where the bolt can just go as far down as it needs to, and it can just tighten your wheel. What I'm trying to say is, you're having a problem where you have an axle with basically a male-female end with 2 5s on each side. Something you could do to help it tighten it a little bit better, you can get like a little mini spacer. What this does is it makes the gap, or the flat area on here, smaller, so you're able to tighten things a little bit more. This is a kind of common problem I see happen. When I work at Scooter Farm, this is an issue that happens pretty much daily, so I'm just gonna let you guys know that if these male, female ones, basically the ones with 2 5s on each side, are not tightening anymore. Just make sure to put a spacer in there and it'll tighten. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to go to undialed.co, pick up some merch. We're gonna have some new merch dropping pretty soon. Also, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you later. Peace out.